Welcome everyone to interview number 39 of OSA Improvement Month. Today with LegitKorea, also known as Willie. Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone, and
Hey.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's go. Ending off OSA Improvement Month interviews with a banger. Let's go.
Oh,
Yep. So I'm very excited, but I think before we get into anything, I think if you could introduce yourself and sort of describe who you are as a player and what you're probably recognized for within the community.
yeah. My name is Legit Korea. I've been a League of Legends streamer for quite some time now. I started streaming back in 2014. Um, and currently, right now, I do League of Legends streaming as a full-time job, and I work sushi as a sushi chef part-time. And recently, about almost 2 years now, I got into Osu like seriously. So I made an account back in like 2013, I believe, but I never took the game seriously. Only played for fun, like here and there, maps. But 2 years ago, I reached out to a couple of people, and I ended up meeting Joel, or AKA I'm a Fancy Lad, and also Habib, and they've been helping me out with a couple of core skills and like concepts throughout the game. So I've been taking the game a little bit more seriously for about 2 years now.
Yeah, I feel like especially having come from the League community, I assume that you discovered the game sort of through that, but can you sort of walk us through how you first discovered the game back in July 2013?
Uh, I actually don't remember. I probably saw like a video of someone playing it, and I was like, "Oh, I want to try that." So I was like, because I played piano at the time, so I was like, "Oh, it's a musical game or like a rhythm game." So I probably just like downloaded it and started playing then.
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, you do have a piano next to you in your stream overlays,
hmm
or your stream background. I'm curious, since that topic has been brought up, what your experience is with piano.
Uh, so my piano background is I've been classically trained. I've been playing for about 15 years. Um, I stopped playing, but it's been like I think 7 years now since I've actually like picked it back up. But I can play things here and there.
Oh, okay. So, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, classically trained, and I guess in a brief TLDR fashion, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so when I learned how to play piano, I've been taught a lot of classical pieces, so things like Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Liszt, a lot of the what would you consider just classical pieces, I would say.
Yeah, the goats.
Like yeah, the older music you would just like think about when you're going to a bougie party or something. I don't know, like old man bougie party, some stuff like that. But
Let's go.
the thing that I'm pretty much known for in the Osu community, so I've been like kind of recognized here and there by a couple of people, but most notably, I am known for speed. I'm trying to become more of a speed player. I did a Tower of Heaven DT FC when I was like, I think 5 digit,
Were you still?
maybe I was 4 digit.
You may have still been 5 digit, no, or maybe 6K or so. Wait, no, that
I
was
might have been.
three
I'm
months
not too
ago.
sure.
Okay, it says on August 8th. Sorry. Um, so that was I think you were 5K or so.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So I was 4 digit at the time, and yeah, I'm just trying to become faster. And the funny thing is, like, the older I get, so right now I'm 25. I'm actually getting faster as I get older, which is the weird thing. I can currently, I don't know about specifically right now, but at my peak, uh, after I took like a little bit of a break, or before I took a little bit of a break, I was able to stream 310 BPM to about 320 BPM.
Dang, that is wholesome. So, yeah, you mentioned that you reached out to some people. I'm curious, sort of your upbringing with like, or actually, even before that, what made you want to take the game OSU a bit more seriously? And this was in,
Ooh,
I guess, February 2021 or March-ish.
yeah, yeah. So the main two reasons was I saw BTMC videos. I thought the guy was like, super hilarious and like his content was really good. And then also seeing White Cat videos. I saw a lot of White Cat like pop up on my feed. So I was like, oh, okay, let's watch this. And just saw some of the plays that he was making, and I was like, man, it brings back memories of like playing Osu back in the day, and this guy's fucking insane. I can cuss, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, you
okay.
can.
This guy is insane. And I wanted to get back into Osu because I was like, I already reached Challenger on League. I've hit rank 1 on League of Legends. What can I do on Osu? Right? So that's why I decided to like um play it during like queue times, because queue times when you're Challenger playing League of Legends, it's like somewhere between 10 minutes to 20 minutes per game that you have to wait.
Yeah, dang. I've heard horror stories of like high elo queue times.
It is really bad.
So
But
you started picking up the game sort of just to play in queue. At what point was that? Had you started taking the game really seriously by that point?
yeah, so I wanted to find something so I can like play games in queue with. So I was thinking of like maybe Jump King, but they like all the games that I was thinking about like in queue were very like chill, relaxed games. Osu was something that was like interesting to me because like it would keep up my APM, plus I could challenge myself, plus it would be interesting. So I thought it would be like the perfect in queue game.
Oh, that's actually really smart. Actually, that sort of train of thought makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it would keep my hands warm while I'm like not in game.
So you started taking the game more seriously, and then what did you do from there? You mentioned that you reached out to a couple people. What exactly did that look like?
Yeah, so I reached out on Twitter, and a streamer ended up saying like, "Hey, my brother can help out and see if he can like do some Osu coaching for you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd be down for that." And that was Kali, and Kali was able to also get in contact with Fancy Lad, which was Joel. And surprisingly, we only lived like 15 minutes away from each other, so we did like IRL sessions.
Wait, so okay, so you reached out on Twitter. Was
Mhm.
that you like making a tweet asking for like people that would like help coach you, or what
Yeah,
exactly?
yeah, either Osu coaching or like people that were like part of the community that would like know how to get started, basically.
Okay, I see. Interesting. Yeah, and for context, actually, I think that sort of interaction or sequence of events is actually sort of what started Fancy Lad from doing coaching, and that in turn led to OC University existing in the first place because
Hmm.
back then, so I had recently started doing coaching with a couple people, and I didn't see the point in making a server for it because I was like, it doesn't make sense to make a server and just like throw in all the people that have like DM'd me for coaching before. Like, what are they gonna do there? And so I think it was Fancy Lad who was like, yeah, we should make a server. And then he was like, you can like make it related to things other than just the coaching also. And I was like, wait, that is big brain. um,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing as well for like, because like the whole topic of like Osu coaching and things like that. And I think the resource aspect of it, and just like, because as a new player, I had no idea what was going on in the game. Like, I didn't know there were speed maps. I didn't know there was like, I mean, obviously there are aim maps, right? Because you have to aim, but didn't know anything about speed. Didn't know there were tech maps, right? So like this whole realm of like different lingo and resources that you could like find out about the game was like super helpful to like know. And like as I talked to more people in the community, I would gather information from other people. But if you have it all in one area and like, culminated into a Discord server, I think that's very beneficial.
I'm curious because I feel like most likely, or at least I assume that you're sort of seeking out of coaching for OSU spawn or stemmed from the league community, having been competitive there for quite some time, and I think you've done some coaching for league as well. So I assume that that's sort of what carried over, and you sort of almost were adapted to that culture of
Hmm.
of there being coaches.
Yeah, so I was a coach, or I mean I still do coach right now. But I coached for like college teams before. Like I've coached for Harvard, um, for their league team. I've coached for a couple of people that are just reaching out in general. But I've been doing it over the course of like maybe 3 years, 4 years ish.
Oh wow.
And it was just like an on and off thing. So I don't really consider myself a coach, but I like have a lot of good ideas and concepts that you can apply into your game. So which is why I offer coaching. And yeah, I think for League of Legends, it's kind of like it's a little different than OSU because like OSU you just have to like um you have to perform a specific task. With League of Legends, you have to adapt to each situation, correct?
Right,
So
right.
there's a lot more flowchart in the game for like what decision making you got to make. With OSU, it's more like click the circles here, right? Just play the note here, right? So on the aspect of like mechanical skill, right? It's a lot harder to coach mechanical skill even in League of Legends. But in the sense of like teaching abstract ideas and like concepts, that is something you need coaching for in League of Legends. So in the same sense, I was like thinking, okay, I don't know anything about Osu, and mechanically I can play very fast songs, but like, it'll take some time to get better. So I was like looking for a way to get better at the game quicker, which is why I looked for OSU coaching or someone that was within the community that can teach me things about the game.
Okay, that actually makes sense. So you're mostly looking for the speed of kind of getting yourself up to speed, I guess.
Hmm.
Okay, because I do wonder because I mean you can certain like in theory like 99.99 but basically 100% of people that play the game sort of find everything out themselves and they would like look up YouTube videos and things like that and just kind of find all the information that way. I wonder
Hmm.
if there's a certain, I guess, reason, like, is there some sort of like, does it spawn from some sort of like competitive drive to just kind of get yourself up to speed as fast as possible to, as to
Yeah.
like why you wanted to seek out like personalized help?
Yeah, it comes from a thing of like competitiveness and being optimal. So why would I waste? Well, I mean, I guess you don't have to consider it a waste, but like, why would I spend time looking up videos for thousands of hours when I'm full-time streaming and I'm working as a sushi chef when I'm working 60 hours a week? And it's like I don't have the time to do that. I just like could spend money to like talk to someone that has the information, right? It's like with anything in the world, right? You specifically buy people's services and like their experience because they've spent the time doing that thing, correct?
Right. Okay. That does
So
make sense.
I'm expediting the process of going onto YouTube videos. Like you don't have to get a college degree to understand the concepts that they're teaching you. Albeit like you'll spend a lot more time probably on YouTube, but you can learn everything that you learn from colleges, right? So
Yeah. I
you're
think
just paying college for the degree and just like having a more set schedule, being faster than learning from YouTube.
yeah, I feel like the comparison I usually make in my head is, and you probably understand this or be able to expand on this as someone who took piano lessons, but when you're learning an instrument, when you have a tutor for an instrument or things like that, you're taking lessons, like you can just as easily watch YouTube videos. And so I'm curious if you can expand on like what the value is of having that tutor.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think with music or like instruments, it's a little bit different in terms of like playing Osu, mainly because there's phrasing in music or there's like different interpretations or like if you're playing piano there's like fingering, so like if you need to play one note with your pinky finger rather than like your middle finger, your piano teacher or tutor can pick up on that, while as if you're learning by yourself you'll create a lot of bad habits that you might not even know, but you can still play it right your own style. But they'll be able to help fix and mitigate a lot of those bad habits in the first place so that you can excel quicker than all the kids that are learning from, by themselves kind of thing.
So I think the last question that I have, if I can play devil's advocate a little longer, is that I- can you help me understand how the tutor is actually helping you, like improve your like physical skill? Because like you're the one who has to do the practice, and you're the one who
Hmm.
has to actually fix those bad habits yourself. So, can you help me understand like what exactly the tutor is doing? Because they're not moving your hands for you, right?
Yep.
They're just kind of talking, I guess. So, like, how exactly does that work?
So for me personally, I never practiced. All right, so that was a big issue of mine was that I never practiced, but I was good enough to play the things that they were giving me, which is the weird thing because I was good enough to play piano and learn by myself, but I never played, right? So going to a piano tutor and getting yelled at gave me a reason to keep playing or like work on it. So I would only practice like maybe 1 or 2 hours a week when I like played piano. When in reality I should have been playing for like maybe about 10 hours a week. Um and so uh switching from I guess piano tutoring to kind of like OSU coaching, uh the thing that helped me progress was that like when I talk to someone that's better than me or someone that's like a little bit more notable or has been like has accolades and things like that, it makes me want to do better. Like seeing someone that like has already made it and they're like, "Hey, you can do this," and like I believe in you. It gives you like that confidence, right? It makes you want to keep doing these things. So, like having that person, this is a more mental thing where like you have someone that like believes in you or like helps you out with things. You're like, I want to make this person proud. So I guess that's another thing that like people don't really talk about.
Oh, that's a really good point, actually. So it sounds like speed of improve or speed of acquiring information and
Hmm.
also the motivation aspect or sort of confidence in your own abilities to keep pushing.
Yeah, because like let's say your friend was um like was helping you out with something, you'd be like down to do it and you'd be like motivated, right? Like, yeah, let's do it. But
Yeah.
like let's say Mr. Beast came up to you and was like, "Hey, get better at this." You'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking get good at this," right? Like it's a different mentality. And that's something that people don't think about.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, dude, if Mr. Beast walked, if you were an aspiring YouTuber and Mr. Beast walked up to you and looked at your channel and like your videos and was like, yeah, I'm noticing like a couple things, especially in the first couple seconds, the way you're editing this, and he
Yeah.
like sort of, he's like, work on, I don't know, implementing this into your videos, and you're like, dude, what the heck? This guy definitely, he knows what he's talking about for one, and even if there are other styles out there, like it's just, if nothing else, like even if you don't necessarily take that advice, it's just something that's super inspiring, if, especially if he's like, dude, you have potential, and it's like, oh my god.
Hmm.
So yeah. So from there, so you started really grinding the game. You got up to like 2000 play count in March 2021, and you're pretty consistently at 1k 2k play count throughout pretty much up until this month, where I think you said your computer died for a couple weeks.
Oh yeah. My computer died for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, very unfortunate. But uh, so how exactly did you implement Osu into your live streams? Because I'm pretty sure you live streamed all of your Osu gameplay for the most part, since basically since you started taking it seriously.
Yeah, I would say I live stream 99% of my OSU plays. The only 1% is like if I couldn't sleep and I just wanted to play some Osu. Um, so uh it would most of the time just be in queue for a league. But after I got like better and I got to about like maybe high five digit, so I would say like 20k plus. That's when I started just like doing Osu streams because people seemed interested in like what I was doing. Cause like for a 5k doing 300 BPM, that's like kind of like what the heck.
Right.
Um so I was like, okay, if people are interested in watching, like I'm down to just improve and just sit down, play 4 or 5 hours of it. So
Oh, okay. So only at that point did you start really doing like focused Osu sessions as opposed to
mhm.
just kind of playing it in queue.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when you play in queue, like sometimes you can't make those top plays and like you queue pops and then you have to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So what did your earlier like sessions focus on for the most part? Like when you first started taking the game more seriously, like around what star rating were you already comfortable with, and then what exactly were you really trying to get better at in those first couple months?
when I first started, I was comfortable at 5 stars. Um, and then after the first month, I was able to like push up to like 7 stars. Not comfortably, but like be able to play them maybe like CB ranks.
Okay.
Um, and then what was the question again?
Like, what exactly did those first few months look like as far as like what you were focused on? Like, was it just a lot
Oh,
of pushing yourself, or were there specific skill sets that you were trying to really improve at before anything else?
yes. So Fancy gave me a list of maps and it focused a lot of different things. So there were like a lot of good tech maps, like 5-star tech maps are like unreal. Like for me at the time, I was like, bro, this is not a 5-star. There's no way. Even now, I'm like seeing some 5-star tech maps, dude, they're kind of crazy. Um, but just being able to get used to like reading the notes a bit more rather than like, because like there's different approach rates, there's different like what should I say? Uh, everything about like each map is just different. So like whether it be reading or like tapping, like BPMs, things like that. So I worked on stamina as well, a lot of stamina. So I'm able to like maintain for long periods of time, like high speeds as well. So I worked on pretty much everything actually, like anything for tournament play. I just haven't been playing that many tourneys though, which I would like to get into again.
Oh, again, were there any tournaments that you played already?
Yeah, I played two tournaments. I played like Broccoli Cup, and then I kind of shit the bed because
Oh
I
no.
was like really nervous. I was playing with like Binfi and uh Karyu.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah, but we didn't make it, so I was like kind of felt bad because I
Oh
was like
no.
playing really bad. But
So,
yeah, I
oh,
think if I like kept practicing like tournaments, like I think that would be my thing.
oh, so were you always sort of imagining that you would become sort of a tournament player, or did you just want to get as good as you could, or like what exactly were your goals from a skill set perspective?
Yeah, so overall I don't care about ranking. So like whatever rank I am, I think I'm like 4K or something, 4.5. I really don't care what rank I am, honestly. The only thing I care about is like how fast can I play? So like can I stream 330 BPM or am I gonna be a good tournament player? So those are the two things that I really care about is like speed and tournament. Can I play in tournaments eventually?
In the beginning, I remember you sort of made this challenge for yourself to get all the way up to rank 1000. And I can't remember if it was 6 months or so, but from the moment you sort of started taking it seriously, I don't remember what rank you were at the time, but
Mhm.
can you shed a bit more light on that goal that you had set for yourself?
Yeah, so I wanted to hit 1K because I would see like 1K players play and I'll be like, that's pretty good, but I know I can reach it. So I was like, if I just put enough time, like I can hit that point. But I think it's more of like to myself having a visible goal rather than just being like, I want to be good, right?
Okay, yeah.
Um, so I set it up as like a means to push myself and not just float around kind of thing.
It seems like you sort of had this confidence, even like looking at other top players or like relatively like high skilled players play. And it's like
Hmm.
you can, like, did you sort of feel like you could keep track of everything that was happening, even on like star ratings that were way higher than you could play? And like, did you feel this sort of like, yeah, this feels like something that I could sort of reach at some point?
Yeah, I still feel that now. I'm very cocky about like how I play. Because even if I can't play it now, I know I can play it in the future. So basically looking at plays, it's obviously different because like when you look at it, you can easily read stuff.
Yeah.
But when you actually play it, that's like the hard part. So I'm getting to the point where I can almost reach like AR11, like getting to the point where I can like somewhat start reading AR11 comfortably.
Oh, okay.
It's still kind of difficult, but I know that I can reach it. It's just a matter of time now. And when I played before, when I was a new player, I was like, oh my God, like these 20K players are so good. And then I play for like 3 months. I'm like, oh my God, these like 5K players are so good. And then like, time goes on. And now I'm at to the point where it's like top 50 is pretty good. Like top 50 players, top 100 players, they're pretty good. And I'm getting slowly to the point where it's like, I think I could reach these points.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Where do you feel like that confidence comes from? Is it your experience with League, having been challenger for many seasons in a row, or Is it just sort of this innate competitive drive, regardless of any sort of like accomplishments you've haven't had in the past, or like where do you feel like that general confidence and sort of knowing that you can reach the top? Where do you think that comes from?
When I was a kid, I played a lot of sports and I was just inherently good at them. I wasn't really competitive though. I would say my competitive nature though, like when I started playing League and got to about like Diamond, that's when I was like, oh shit, like maybe I can reach Challenger. That was back in 2013, 2014. And I was like, oh, maybe I can reach it to the higher, like upper echelons of like these skill levels. And so once I ended up reaching Challenger and hitting also rank one Ari, rank one on the NA leaderboard as well, just like generally in NA rank one, I was like, if I could do this for a video game, why can't I just do this for anything else in life? So anything I like do in life now, I'm just like, oh, Osu, like why can't I hit top 100? Why not? I've played piano before and like I'm playing pretty well. I can read a lot of like fast maps. I can play speed. Speed is pretty meta. Why not? Even in life, so like anything that I like do, I remember talking to you about this for a little bit, but if I look at someone, like let's say for example, I look at a uh a sushi chef, all right, and I look at them and I get food from them and I'm like, do I think this sushi chef is a gold player, a gold sushi chef, right? What rank do I think this person is? And if they are gold, why can't I just reach gold? Why can't I just hit diamond in Sushi Chef or like master tier in Sushi Chef? Right. So anything I do in life, I now equate it to like, do I think this person is good? And not to like demean them, but like,
Yeah,
do I think
yeah.
this person overall is diamond or challenger? No? Okay, why can't I do better than them?
Right. It's like how impressive is their current skill level truly? Because like to an iron or bronze player, like those players that are very new or inexperienced with the game, like anything will look impressive. Like you said, like with even with Osu, like relatively like players that are good but not like at a very top level, like that gameplay
Hmm.
still looks crazy to you, even in something like Osu. But I think what you're saying is like really being able to take a step back and be like, how long would it really take you if you really put yourself to it to like reach that level or even surpass them in skill level?
Exactly. Because like if you look at it in the sense of like you like let's say top 25K players in Osu were able to make a full-time living doing what they do, right? If that was the case, or like maybe like even some scattered people from like 25K to 50K, some people from there, and then like 25K plus, they were all able to make a full-time living, right? In the same sense, in like real life, there are people that have professions that are those kinds of people, but it's like, is it really that hard to get top 50K, right? You can, if you put in a lot of time and you put in the effort and you're able to do it, right? Then wouldn't you want to like keep improving at the skill that you did? So like in life, that's how I see it as is like what where is this guy on the leaderboard? So that's why I keep looking to improve or like I can be better than this kind of thing, kind of mindset.
You mentioned putting in a lot of time. I want to sort of hone in on that a little bit because I'm curious if you can expand on like if it's really time over everything else or if there's certain things that you can do and certain things that you can sort of I guess certain ways to practice that can make you a bit more efficient with your time.
In Osu or in general?
I think we should mostly relate it to Osu, but I mean you can relate it to in general first and then go more specific with Osu.
Yeah, I think having a um I don't think I forgot the question, hopefully. But like, okay, I'm just gonna say it. What I do personally is like I do warm-up maps every single day. Like every single day that I play, I will play a warm-up map, which is like I start at a BPM of 180 to 190 to warm up for like a 1500 note map, like the stream practice maps. And then I will move up to somewhere between like 200, 230 for that
On
day.
oh, okay, for like actual maps.
For warm-ups.
Oh no, I mean, so you when you warm up, you play like 180 to 190 long stream practice,
Yeah.
and then from there you go to like 220, 230 long stream or 220, 230 like actual maps.
long stream practice. So like once I'm
Okay.
warmed up from that then it's like my actual warm up kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay, okay.
And then after that, then I'm ready to go to play whatever maps for that day.
Okay, I see.
So whether it be like a 300 stream map that's like a 64 notes, 300 BPM stream map, or like a very slow reading map, just to be able to get my fingers ready for that day.
So as far as like the like sheer volume of practice that you need to put in, like how much does it matter like the sheer volume of time that you put in as opposed to like any like specific, I guess, quote unquote ways or methods that you practice, especially in something that has such a simple premise as Osu, where in reality there's not that much like complex like thought or strategy that really needs to go into actually playing the game. So in that sense, I'm curious your thoughts on like how much like different methods could be, I guess, more effective than others, or if it really just is a matter of how much time you put into the game.
Time is a factor, but I don't think it's like a defining factor of how good you are. Um, because there's obviously people that are like you. Who was that one guy that like played for I think about 2 years now, and they're like top 500.
That could be a lot of people.
So they played like they started I think 2 years ago, roughly the same time, or maybe a little bit less than me. But they started out completely new, and then they like played a bunch of maps, and then Spicy, I think it is Spicy.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, and they just hit top 500 or something, something really crazy. And I was like, damn, that's like they really focused in on like what to do. And so I think having focused practice is almost always more important than sheer volume. Because sheer volume is like good when you're at the very highest levels of play because you already know what to be focusing on. But when you're lower, it's better to just play 1 to 3 hours of very focused practice, I would say.
So, what are you supposed to focus on in that time, especially when you're a newer player, and especially if you don't really have that experience to know what to play?
That's a good question. I think that's a good question to ask for people that know what they're talking about in OSU.
Oh,
So
really?
for me, this is why I also bring up the point like I personally think that OSU coaching, as ridiculous as some people might think it is, it's like for newer players, it makes complete sense. Because like anybody can learn this information, but it's condensed information. And if there's like resources available to you that you can use that's free, then use those resources that are free. Otherwise, for me, someone like me, I don't have the fucking time to go sit down and watch Osu videos for 5 hours of my time. I'm a grown adult. I'm 25. Right? I gotta do shit. So, for anyone that has time, feel free go out and do that. But if you're busy with school, if you're busy with like college, like your time is very limited. So, um, yeah, like I would say when you're at lower skill levels from my perspective, I think one of the most important things is like listening to the music. Sounds very stupid, but listening to the music and looking at the notes, right?
Uh-huh, I'm listening. No,
Uh,
okay, I'm joking.
so that'll be $350 by the way. Anyways, listening to the music and like looking at it because like when you play Osu, you're bombarded with like a bunch of different things and it's hard to process. So you just gotta focus and sit down, listen to the music, and then look at or like understand what you're looking at. So and then you increase the speed level of like what you're playing, AR, higher star ratings, what is it, circle size, all that. That's when you can start like increasing it once you're comfortable with that level. Um, So yeah, I would say just focusing on listening to the music and looking at what you're looking at is important.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can get very overwhelmed with just like all the stuff that's happening on the screen, especially I think newer players, like when you first get into it. But as you mentioned, and especially like as you're sort of getting your first bits of experience and like the general feel with the game, I definitely agree that like that is something that can really get you grounded and just feeling more comfortable with your gameplay.
Hmm.
So if you were, I guess, I'll put it this way: if you were to completely reset or I guess start from zero with Osu, what would be the things that you focus on, knowing what you know now? Like, how would you approach like first learning the basics of the game, and then from that point, like, how would you scale up from like two, three, 4 stars, and then eventually, like, what are some things that you would really try to hone in on and focus on when you're a new player? And I guess here you can also kind of incorporate like habits that you feel like you built as a relatively newer player that you sort of wish that you hadn't, or that you wish you had sort of built things a little bit differently from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think overall I've done a pretty good job from where I've started. Um, if I were to take it like reset, take it like even more serious, like hardcore, oh man, I would only play like an hour or 3 hours a day, until I got to like maybe 10K rank. Um, like take 10K rank skill level, not actual 10K, because like I generally did not play PP farm maps. Um, so once I got to about like the 10K range, then I would increase my like play count. But from that very beginning, I would probably work on reading a lot more because like reading now, oh, that's another thing is like when people are at the highest levels of play, right? Let's say top 1K, if they have to work on something like hidden AR8, right? You can probably tell that like 1K some 1K players cannot do that at all, right?
Right.
You would say.
Right. Yeah, that's
And
true.
so when they go to practice that and they can't do it, they feel demoralized and they feel like, man, I'm a 1K player and I can't even do this. Fuck it, I'm not even gonna play it. Right? So like
Ah,
dropping that ego is like really important when learning a new skill set. So from the beginning, I would also very heavily work on reading because my reading is good, but it's not like AR0 hidden good. You know what I mean?
right, right.
So a little bit more focus on hidden. Um, Playing what I'm comfortable with and FCing a little bit more is what I would do when I restart. And then also increasing my skill cap every day at the end, probably. Which I already did, but like, minimizing my play count, I would say, is what I would do as well.
So warming up sort of with, I guess, a reinforcement of some fundamental stuff, and then from there I feel like that point that you mentioned at the end, especially with like really pushing your skill cap at the ends of every session, just trying to push more and more to sort of
Hmm.
like finish off the grand finale of your session after you've warmed up and played a bunch of maps. So yeah, I'm curious if you can expand a bit more, especially on sort of how to balance fundamentals and technique practice and then your actual skill cap and mechanical pushing.
Yeah, because like when I first started, a lot of people do this as well. They put on no fail and they're like, or like auto, or what is it called? Autopilot? Is
Right.
that the one where you can
Or
just move your mouse or
that one
click?
is relax. The one that clicks for you, or the
I think
one
it's
that aims for
relax.
you. The one that clicks for you and you only aim is relax, and then the one that aims for you and you just have to click, that one's called autopilot.
Gotcha. So like relax, right? Like a lot of newer players, they're like, oh, like put on relax and like, bro, look at my godlike aim. And it's like you kind of get into this habit sometimes when you're playing like uh when you're at that skill level, you're like, oh, I can do this, so I'm gonna keep doing it. And it's like it's bad practice. I would say what I did when I first started was like I always push skill cap, so when I played like a 4-star map, I could not play it. So
Oh wow.
I would basically like I could play like let's say 7-star maps and like be able to be close to FCing, and then I could not play some very basic 5-star maps. Right? That's a very bad habit. So I would say being more focused on what if I restarted, being more focused on like fundamental play for like an hour or two, and then finishing off the session for like 30 minutes to an hour with like those very difficult things that you can sort of play, but it's like a little bit hard for you is probably optimal in my opinion.
So I feel like everyone has a slightly different definition of fundamentals, especially in, well, I guess in anything, but here we're just talking about Usu. But I'm curious if you can sort of spell out more specifically what you imagine that would look like when you say that you would focus a bit more on fundamentals for like, especially as a newer player in the first while of your session.
Yeah, fundamentals for me would be like your tapping control. So like when you play a map, how consistently can you tap to the beat of the notes? And then mouse control or like cursor control is another thing. And then fundamental wise. yeah, being able to just process what you're seeing and hearing is also probably another fundamental. So those are the main things that I would say that I would like heavily work on.
Okay, so a bit of just like controlling your cursor, controlling your tapping and I guess accuracy, and then also like the sort of visual processing of information of like everything that's happening.
Yep.
Okay, that does make sense. So I want to focus in a bit more on streams and tapping. I feel like that's something that you're definitely super comfortable at, especially compared to a lot of other people. So I'm curious how you first started playing streams, if there's any specific tips that really helped you get started there, and also just general pointers for like breaking into streams, both the like the just the tapping aspect first of all, and then also like other aspects of streams.
Yeah. So it's really simple to do, like to get into like the level that I got into. So all you guys got to do, like if you guys are listening right now, is you just got to play piano for 15 years, classically trained. And then once you've done that prerequisite of playing piano for 15 years, you can start playing those, like very fast BPMs. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, uh what got me into like I was very slow actually in the beginning.
With
Uh
Osu, even in like 2021.
yeah. I was like, oh, not 2021, but I would say like I was slow when I first started Osu,
Oh, like way back
like
when, 2013.
2013,
Okay.
2014. And what got me into it was like, oh my God, it was such an old map. What is it called? Uh,
It's not the big black, is it?
no. It wasn't the Big Black. It was like a some nebula something. Really old map. If I find it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But it was that map that specifically was like, this is the hardest map in the game I've ever seen. And that's when I wanted to be like, well, I play piano. Why can't I play fast songs? And so I had that thinking, like that thought process in the back of my head, ever since. And so when I came back to Osu, I was like, I'm gonna become a speed player.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
um, yeah, getting into it, like, it's really hard for some people because you don't have that coordination, like that motor control in your left hand. Because people are right hand dominant, right? So they're
Right,
like,
right.
well, I'm gonna aim with that. So now what do I do with my left hand? Uh, so I don't know what to say specifically because like I had a head start, honestly.
I see. I mean, even so, you said that w- even back in 2013, when you first found the game, you were pretty slow with tapping. I'm
Hmm.
curious. I mean, even at that point, you were already somewhat retired from playing piano.
Yeah, that was like when I like quit piano. So I was like pretty fresh, like still playing piano for that time. But
Okay.
I think I was slow because I was like, oh, that's another thing is like if you second guess yourself, you're putting more time, like delay. You just gotta play it and get comfortable. So I think the problem that I had was like I was second guessing myself because I was not processing the information correctly.
Oh, you mean like from a map reading perspective on OZ?
Yep. Like reading and like listening to it, like because I could hear it perfectly fine, but then like looking at it and I would miss a note, I'd second guess myself on the next one and be like, oh shoot, like what do I do now? Like how do I
Oh.
recalibrate? So like if you keep second guessing yourself and not just play like properly, uh let's say you play a very high star map, you just consistently miss notes, you don't know what the fuck is going on, right? So that's why you want to play like something that's comfortable to you so you can like calibrate.
So, what about long stream practice maps? What exactly is the value of playing those compared to playing actual streams? Because there's many schools of thought for this. Some people say that long stream practice maps can be helpful for like getting into streams and tapping for the first time, and some people say that like it's completely pointless because no map is ever going to actually be like that. So, I'm curious your
Yeah.
perspective on long stream practice maps if you can sort of address some of those different perspectives on it, and then also sort of talk about what you feel like the value is of playing those maps.
Yeah. So, um, my piano teacher had me doing scales, right? Like every professional does scales when they warm up. Why the fuck would people play scales? It's never going to be in a song
Right. Or technically it would be, but never
in
it's
that
never
order.
just scales.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
never just scales in that order. Like
Yeah.
you have the notes of a piece that you play, but not in that particular order. But like, why would anyone do that? It's because you're warming up. It's literally a warm up. And when I play like those long stream practice maps, I feel like I just snorted so much. I feel like I had so much caffeine right? Cytho levels of caffeine after playing that I'm just so focused and so like ready to go after playing those maps. Um, I think it's like for me personally, I don't know if it's like for anybody else. After I play those maps, I go like God mode, honestly.
So you mostly use it as a warm up. Do you feel like it's useful, or I guess useful, quote unquote, in the same sense that like as a beginner you need to sort of like learn your 12 major scales and all of that sort of like learning, like getting comfortable with them like as a beginner, and then from there you start using it as a warm up, or in OC do you feel like it's sort of strictly a warm up and nothing else?
I don't think it's like strictly just warm up, but it's like I think anybody can play it. Um, it's just good for like making sure that they're able to physically move. Does that answer your question? Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it does. No, I mean, especially like when let's say I'm like a brand new player and like I'm still kind of having trouble like moving my fingers back and forth in that streaming motion. Is that something
yeah.
that long stream practice maps could also help with, or am
Oh,
I
for sure.
am I
Yeah,
better
yeah.
off learning tapping with for streams on like actual stream maps?
You should probably honestly do like very low BPM things that you can just like go back and forth. So like back and forth for like the streaming motion, right? So what would be like a good BPM starting point? Would you say like 150,
140, 150 is usually what people
140?
recommend.
Okay, yeah. So I would, if you're a new player, like that's probably what I would start with, and then start working your way up if you feel comfortable. And like, that's when you use the accuracy to like kind of pinpoint like where you should be playing. Because I can play 300 BPM, right? But I can't play for 1500 notes.
Right.
So if you can play those very long maps and get like somewhere between like a 97 plus accuracy, you could probably move on to the next like BPM, like 10, increase by 10 or increase by 5. And once you reach the point where like you're getting like 90%, 85%, probably want to step back a little and like play a little bit slower. So you're always recalibrating on the BPM is how I would see it for warm-ups.
So how about the speed aspect of I guess tapping? I will start with tapping speed. I'm curious if there's like specific principles or methods that you try to follow, or like routines even for pushing your speed, or if it's mostly just kind of it just kind of comes naturally.
It comes pretty naturally, but for the most part, when I like actually think about what to do, when I feel myself tensing too hard, I cut back and like try to play the same speed, but like very relaxed. So I always try to stay relaxed for like high BPM streams or like things that are very difficult to play BPM wise. Um, but anything below 250, I don't have to really worry about it. But if it's like above 250, then I have to start like, okay, take a step back, take a breather, play it lightly, as light as possible while still being accurate
Do you feel like that's a habit you gained from playing piano, or is it something that you sort of had to develop through Osu?
through Osu. In
Interesting.
piano, dude, I would just go ham. No breaks, just like play the notes, play it like how it's musically supposed to be played, like how my piano teacher would want it to be played, and that's it. That's where the thinking would stop. For Osu though, like I am a little bit more like, okay, how should I play this to be able to play it? Like thinking about it on my own rather than like, what do I think Joel would say, or what do I think Habib would say? Like it's gone to the point where like I think for myself based on how I feel physically.
Okay, that does make sense. Because especially the whole aspect of tensing, I feel like if you're running out of stamina on a map, let's say it's too hard for you or it's too fast for you or whatever, there's sort of two routes you can take. Either one is you try to like tense up and squeeze as much speed and stamina as you can and try to hit the notes as best you can. Or the other option is basically you focus more on playing it as if you were playing it properly. And if your finger speed just isn't quite there yet, then it's something that you'll build up, but at least you sort of aren't reinforcing poor habits of like tensing, because in reality it's like you want to practice in the way that you would be playing if you were actually playing it properly, so you can reinforce those techniques. And so if you're sort of losing it with speed or stamina on a map, then what you're basically saying is like it's tempting to tense up because you sort of want to hit the notes as best you can,
Yeah.
But what you're sort of saying is that you try to catch yourself as much as possible and sort of make sure you're actually practicing. Because, like, at the end of the day, all your gameplay is basically practice in some sense. And so, whenever you're playing, you want to be reinforcing the habits that are smoothest for you and the habits and sort of techniques that are, like, I guess, most comfortable or that are serving you the best, and sort of reinforcing those. So I assume that's sort of what you're imagining there as well.
Yeah, another thing that I would like to kind of add as well is like there are top players or people that can play very high BPMs, let's say like 270 plus, and they're tensing the entire time, which, accuracy wise, you can play it. You can play it effectively. But the thing that like I mean, some people do take into consideration is like you need to be careful because you can injure yourself, right? It's a very real thing with like carpal tunnel. And so if you're pushing yourself to the point where it's burning and it's like it hurts after you play, right? Like you can have a little bit of burning sensation when you play because like that's exhaustion and stamina, things like that. But if you're doing it and like after you play, you're like, oh shit, my wrist kind of hurts, or like my forearms are still burning the day after. It's like you're exerting way too much force and like you're kind of destroying your body over for a video game by clicking notes, right? Like you should probably not do that, even if you can't play it. Like, people that work out, right?
Right.
The people that are ego lifters, they like
Oh.
lift 100 pounds. They look really cool at the gym, whatever, or at least they think they look really cool at the gym. They're fucking grunting and they're like 100 pounds, yeah, bro. Uh, it's like the kind of the same thing where it's like, are they actually doing what they need to be focusing on, like targeting specific body parts? A lot of the times they're using like momentum and like, swinging their arms so that they can like, assist themselves with doing these kinds of exercises. And then you have someone that's actually doing very targeted and isolated practices, which give them more benefit. And like, let's say 30 pounds for like, I don't know, shoulder presses or something like that, but they're very focused on their muscle group isolations and they're better off doing it that way and being more relaxed. It's kind of like the same thing where it's like you can stream 300 BPM, but if you get carpal tunnel, what's the point?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, definitely agreed, especially with the whole like technique aspect and even like kind of ego playing in some sense, which I'm sure we can bring up the topic of ego a bit uh, a little later on. There's a couple questions that people sent in through the live chat that I want to sort of go through quickly, or maybe not quickly. We can take our time, but I do
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
go through each of those questions. So the first one is, in your opinion, what should a six digit do to? What should a six digit do? Should they focus on accuracy or aim?
So yeah, I answered a quick one about that. I think, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Focus on increasing rankings on songs and starting to push your limits on higher star rating maps. So, this is something that I was like told by multiple people. If you have C ranks, bring it up to B ranks, right? If you have B ranks, bring those up to A ranks, and slowly do that. Increase your accuracy on comfortable maps, and then you can also start pushing for higher star rating maps, which is effectively how I would practice if I started restarting. Like if I had the information now that I have and start it over, that's what I would do.
Okay, so sort of balancing, taking the scores you've already set and just kind of going back to sort of refine those scores, go from C to B or B to A or even A to S.
Yep,
And at the same time, every now and then, sort of finding new maps to set new records on that you can start to clean up from there.
exactly. And then you can like, also do like sight reading, stuff like that, practice that.
So, how would you recommend newer players find maps?
Oh, that's something that I also still struggle with, but like overall, like what you said before with like you like a map, okay, go to the website and then like click on the artist or the person that mapped the thing. And you can just find a bunch of different maps that they mapped. And you can find it through that way through the website. There's also another thing where like I just lost all my OSU folders, like all my beat maps. So I downloaded OSU Collector. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, there's a website called usucollector.com.
Yeah. So I use that. I paid for the subscription fee or whatever, and you're just able to just download so many maps, and I have a bunch of just like 5 stars that I just play on, and I just put DT on them, just practice right now.
Oh wow.
So I'm in my DT era. I'm like trying to get to the point. I actually, okay, so I haven't told anyone this, but like I am practicing hidden DT so that I can set a 700, 800 PP play just out of the blue.
That would be awesome.
So
So
that is what I'm working on.
for context, right now your top play is 571 on Tower of Heaven, and then after that your next is 489 on Yotogi Banashi.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I think my lowest play is like 280 or something.
Oh, like your 100th top?
Yeah, my top 100 is like a low 300 or a high
It's
200.
287 right now.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Yeah, so as you can see, like I really don't care about like ranking.
So speaking of you, sort of like the skill set that you're focused on right now, Simply Leave asked, "Hey, Legit Korea, what would you say your skill set has become? I remember a couple months ago you were becoming a speed player, but in the past I remember it was more of aim and some flow streams back then."
I would say mostly I'm speed, but I can play anything. Like I've been enjoying, like I love playing Hidden Hard Rock. That's like actually one of my favorite like VOD setups. Hidden DT, yeah, Hidden DT is also really fun. Just Hard Rock, I don't really like as much, but I would say overall speed is my main skill set. Um, and then everything is like pretty good. Aim is pretty good. My weakest skill set would be reading, I would say.
All right, and then there is a question. Because this is sort of quite broad, but also I think an interesting question. Someone asked, "Should a 6 digit learn how to stream?"
Yeah, I think any level of player should be able to learn any kind of fundamental. Like just learn whatever, and you're just kind of getting comfortable with the game at that point, right? Like you just play everything is what I would say.
Is there a point where you feel like it's too early to start learning how to stream? At least the tapping motion of like tapping back and forth. Like, should you learn some fundamental, like how the game feels and like 2 stars and 3 stars before you start learning that, or could you technically learn it from day one?
Ooh, that's the thing is like I started with just 4 stars when I started playing Osu.
Like all the
So
way in
I
the
wouldn't.
beginning?
Yeah, very beginning I just started with 4 stars.
Oh, interesting.
It was an ego thing. I'm not playing 2 stars, 3 stars.
Do you feel like there's any value in those maps? I mean, like if you were recommending newer players that are getting into the game and don't quite have the like I guess experience of like learning skills to such a high degree as you do, and like people that are kind of breaking into the game for the first time, is there any value in playing those lower star maps, or should everyone just kind of start around the 4 star range?
I think playing lower is definitely um understandable because I had music background. Right? There are a lot of actually top players that I talk to that have said they don't have any music background. So I was like, huh, that's really interesting. But they're like playing super on B and things like that. And what I would say is like if your comfort level is 2 to 3 stars when you first start out, by all means, go ahead. Everyone starts somewhere, right? If you need to play a 2 star map, go ahead, play a 2 star map. If you need to play a 4 star map to not feel like you're losing your absolute goddamn mind, go ahead, play a 4 star map.
Someone asked, "I've been trying to build every skill set at the same time, playing maps from every category in every play session. Is this a good idea, or should I focus more on one at a time?"
So with that just depends on each person. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. But whether or not you like focus on one thing at a time, it shouldn't really matter too much. I would say, uh, for a day, you could probably just like have a heavily focus on one specific skill set, and then you can just like, relax and have fun with like other maps that you enjoy. So you don't burn yourself out. So I think you can do either. It's just how you figure yourself out as a player.
Okay, I see. So any strategy sort of works, basically.
Yeah, I think any strategy works. Basically, like I wouldn't super hard grind one skill set for a month is the thing. If you're a lower player, right? Lower skill rating player, or like a you're just starting the game or something like that. Like try to balance out your plays because what's gonna end up happening is like I'm really good at aim, but I don't like reading. All right, and then you're just gonna continue playing aim, and then your aim is like level 10, right? And your reading is level 1. And then you're gonna be like, oh, maybe I should start practicing reading. And you're like, well, I can't fucking read a 3-star map now or a 4-star map, and you're gonna feel really bad, and you're not gonna want to play it. So try to balance things out.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good segue back over to we were talking about ego a little bit. What is the role of ego in improving? And I guess first, actually, can you sort of define what ego is and what that looks like to you, and then can you talk a bit about its role in improvement?
Yeah, I would say from a personal standpoint, like ego for me is like how I view myself compared to other people. I would say it's more of like looking at people and seeing like comparing yourself. Like it's like the opposite of should I say what did I say last time? It was like negative self-esteem or something.
Um, that's a good question. I don't quite remember.
I don't remember either, but ego for me is like I look at other people and like am I better than them? Not in the sense of like am I better than them as a human, but like am I better than them as a player? So like that drives me to become like a better player is like they're better than me. Oh shit, my ego's bruised. Uh I gotta get better, right?
Right. I think
Uh
it's sort of the way I'm sort of hearing you describe it. It's sort of the social validation aspect of things as opposed to the sort of intrinsic ability and skill and that sort of thing.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
So, what exactly? I mean, is ego a good thing or a bad thing? Can it be helpful, or is it something that everyone should learn how to drop?
Um that's an interesting question because there are top players that have ego and there are top players that do not have ego, right? In any game in life, right? I would say. So it just really depends on like what your focus is. Because like for me, it's like I'm very ego heavy, but like I don't put it out there kind of thing.
Okay.
Whereas yeah, I use it as a method to drive myself, but then I come back to the idea of like, okay, take a step back, focus on what you need to focus so you can become what you want to become.
Interesting.
Um, so some people use it as a driving factor and then like use it as a means to like be a dick to everyone else, but then also still be good. And there are people that are like have no ego, but then their main focus is like, I just want to improve myself. I kind of have like a mix of both.
So there's really no correlation as far as the actual improvement aspect, but there are definitely other, I guess, variables that one might want to consider as far as like being socially acceptable in your behavior and things like that when it comes to sort of shoving your ego in people's faces.
Yeah, yeah, because you can say whatever you want, right? Like you j- truly can say whatever you want, but you're gonna have to deal with the backlash for whatever you say. And if you can't take it, you probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah, that's definitely wise. So we've mentioned quite a lot of topics at this point. There's definitely a couple things that I have in mind that I want to ask about still. One is one that you mentioned you sort of had to deal with somewhat recently, which is derusting. So I remember you said that ever since you
Uh,
started taking the game seriously, you pretty much never went 1 or 2 days max without playing the game at least a little bit. And then
yeah.
you went from that to not playing for 2 weeks. I think because your PC crashed.
hmm
So what has that experience been like? What have you learned about derusting and rust in general through that experience?
Yeah, so it was kind of like the same feeling of like not playing 1 to 2 days, but a little bit more extreme. So the first day I played so bad. I was like, man, I don't even want to play Osu now, like right now. And then I came back the next day and I'm like, okay, like there are some things I'm not comfortable with, like streaming high BPM anymore. I'm getting back to like playing high BPM, but right now I'm not comfortable. So the one thing that did help with derusting though, I remember seeing a video by Carry as well, is like you're able to take away the bad habits and like kind of chip away at those like bad habits and then like rebuild on top of it. So it's good
Right.
to take breaks as well. Um, and that's what I'm feeling right now is like I'm playing so much better rhythmically. So like I'm able to play like some nutty like rhythms that I was not able to play before or like get better reading. But like mechanical skill, like the high BPMs or like high jumps, I'm not able to play as well. But I can always work my way back up. So it's like I'm gaining more skill into other things that I haven't been able to like do well. But it's all a balance, I guess.
So, what exactly is the, if there is a like best way, not really best way to de-rust, but like what are some things that people should keep in mind if they find themselves in that situation?
Um, One thing that resonated with me when like I was talking to Joel about it, Fancy Lad, is that I was like, what should I do if I can't play this? And he's like, if I can't play something for a day, like let's say he was talking about like let's say I can't play um like speed maps for the day. He just doesn't play it for the day and just plays something else and just comes back to it another day. And I've been taking the same approach. If I can't play streams for that day, fuck it. I'll just play like I don't know, 6-star tech maps and just enjoy that.
Do you feel like that could go too far at some point? Because I definitely agree with that, but if I can play devil's advocate, wouldn't you say that if you are constantly having off days with something like streaming and you sort of like leave it off for another day, then
Hmm.
eventually you'll reach the point where it's so far gone because you just haven't been playing it, and then you just end up neglecting it forever and ever, and it just becomes a really bad weakness of yours.
Yeah, you just got to be aware of how often you're doing it. It's kind of like procrastinating on your homework. So if you want to improve, you got to keep track of and like keep tabs of like what you need to improve on. So like 1, 2 days off day, sure. Like just enjoy something else for that day. But if it's like gone a week and you haven't done that skill set, maybe you should reevaluate how you're playing the game. If your like idea is to improve, right? If you're just playing for fun, go ahead, do whatever you want. But if you're trying to improve and that's like the skill set you want to improve on, then you should probably take it seriously and keep tabs on what skills you haven't played.
Oh, comparing it to procrastination actually makes a lot of sense. I feel like there's a lot of parallels when you say it that way.
Hmm.
So there's another skill set that you mentioned you're starting to get pretty comfortable at, which is high AR, all the way up to AR 11. What is the approach to reaching such high ARs? 'Cause I know a lot of people start to feel, I guess, very like they just sort of feel like AR 11 is just like kind of inhuman to some sense. But I'm curious what your approach is for really pushing your really fast reading speed.
Uh, so an interesting thing actually, the very bad problem that I had when I first started was this is something that was actually fixed through like coaching. So I didn't even realize I was doing this. Was that I would look at the middle of the screen and I would use my peripheral vision to look at notes.
Did
So
you, was it something that you felt like was more efficient or something?
yeah, it was easier because I would play ego maps for like 7 stars and I could only read it by like looking at the middle and using my peripheral vision. So that was something that like I kept doing. But like I would broaden my vision. So like let's say imagine a circle in the middle of the map, and I
Okay.
would only look within that circle and then use my peripheral vision to look at everything else.
Oh wow, interesting. But
So that's how I
someone
used to play.
someone is like, wait, reading with peripheral vision is bad.
Yeah, it is bad and there are some pros and cons to it. So like what I've heard some top players do is like they section off the maps into 4 pieces and they would only read one section at a time.
Like the four quadrants of the screen.
Yeah, the 4 quadrants of the screen. So you'd like put a line down the middle, up and down, line down the middle, left and right, and they would read in those 4 quadrants when it's like very high speed maps. And so uh at first I would just look at the middle of the screen, play like that. And then I realized like after watching your video and like talking to other people, it's like you should probably look at the notes. And it's like, holy shit, wait, I haven't been looking at the notes. And so once I did, that like my reading got exponentially better.
Oh, so that's what you meant earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of
So,
sense.
so like I actually did not look at the notes. So like when someone told me you should look at the notes, it's like I mean obviously you should look at the notes, right? Like you should use your eyes to look at the screen. But that's like something that you people wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point because like I feel like for some people like things like that it's such obvious truths that like you feel like it's not
Hmm.
worth saying exactly.
Yeah, but everyone like has their own ways of playing. So like with me, that was a really big issue. If I kept doing that, I probably wouldn't be able to play like any reading maps at all. So, uh, I think that's important in terms of uh, like being able to look at the notes. But when you get to the point of AR11, you can't look at each individual note. So that's when you have to start like sectioning things off. So that's when like my previous skill of like looking at the middle and like playing these notes, I can see everything all at once when I do that. So I'm able to read these fast um maps, but now I just have to get adjusted to like, okay, how far do I have to like aim while doing this?
So peripheral reading is bad to an extent, but it can help sort of make things a little faster if you're like playing an AR that's not comfortable for you.
Yeah, I would say something like you can use it for things that are like, full screen jump maps. You're not gonna just swing your head back and forth.
Right.
So like maybe for those cases, like maybe you should use a little bit less energy. Um, like let's say it's a 270 BPM map and it's like jumps, hidden DT. Probably don't want to be like swinging your head, giving yourself a concussion.
Okay, I see. So it seems like there is some value to it in that sense.
It just depends on what you're doing it for. If you're reading a 5-star map and it's like very flow aim, probably look at the notes.
So when you're reading AR11 or these really high ARs that are less comfortable for you, are you using the whole like just staring in the middle, or do you kind of section the map into quadrants?
Um, for the fast parts that are like closer and condensed, I do more so quadrants. Or looking more directly at the notes. But once it becomes like those fast, like, TV size map jumps,
Yeah, yeah, cross screen type stuff.
yeah, that's when I have to like look more towards the middle and like use that kind of strategy.
Okay, that does make sense. So I'm curious, what if you have specific recommendations for people that are trying to break into higher ARs for the first time, even like AR 10 or 10.3 around that range. What are
hmm
some things that you feel like really helped you like break past those initial high AR barriers?
Um, the biggest thing for me was just consistently playing those every day. Because like if you don't play them and you just try them, like you're gonna feel so slow, right? You don't want to ever warm up with them either. So like slowly get into it. Like lower level hidden DT, and then you work your way up to like hidden DTHR kind of thing. Another thing that someone recommended was like using Gamma. I actually haven't been using Gamma at all. There were some days I tried using Gamma and like I could read better, but it's like I at like recently I have not been using Gamma at all. So I guess that's just dependent on the person, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so too. So how come you don't want to warm up with high AR? Is something bad going to happen?
I can't play it. So
Oh,
personally, it just makes me not be able to play the notes. So
okay.
then I just feel bad about the day.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
that's I warm up into it.
And on a similar topic, when you are trying to push your high AR, you mentioned to play it every single day, basically, or like try to play it as regularly as possible in all your
Yeah.
sessions, at least a little bit. I'm curious, how exactly do you go about learning higher ARs without losing low AR? Because I know some people, even like when they're starting to learn AR 9 and then they're learning 9.5, they basically forget all the ARs under it. And then at some point, they're just like pushing reading speed more and more, and they start adding hard arc to everything. And now suddenly they can't read anything like 9.5 or below because it feels too slow. Is that
Oh yeah.
is that something that you have any advice for?
Yeah. Listen to the notes. Like listen to the music. Cause like when you get to that point, it's like you're like playing the notes at a BPM. So like let's say and you're always playing like notes to like this BPM. You can still play like let's say maps that are like this BPM.
Like really
You just
slow?
need to yeah, you just need to like listen and like play towards that. So you just gotta slow down and like understand that when you're playing at a slower pace, you gotta just like how do I explain this exactly?
I think
Um,
what you're trying to say is that like I mean, everyone inherently has an intuitive sense of music and rhythm sense to some extent. I feel like,
Hmm.
I mean, even things like language are built off of like cadence and like sort of like the rhythm of people's words and things like that. So, like, everyone does have an intuitive sense of like being able to internalize the rhythm, or I guess that's sort of like fancy language for just like being able to understand the rhythm of a map, basically. So, I think what you're saying is like even on those lower songs, if you lower BPM songs, if you focus a bit more on the actual like rhythm of the song and the speed of it, then
Hmm.
that can help you stay in time without rushing to the notes.
Yeah, that's basically what I would say is just like just take a step back, and not everything is played at the same BPM when you're playing that fast, and like there are slower BPMs that you just need to like internalize.
So this question might be a little biased, especially as someone who has such an exhaustive music background, but in a game like Osu, how much of reading would you say is based on the music and how much of it would you say is visual?
How much reading?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so talking about reading, it's like how what we don't really need to go like specifically with percentages, but in a more like abstract sense, like what percentage of reading is based on the music, and then what percentage is based on the visual aspect of looking at the notes.
Mm. I would say that's based on the person, but for me, uh, when I'm reading difficult notes, like things that are very stacked on top of each other, like high density maps, I would say reading is like 70%. Or I mean, listening to the notes reading, like hearing the music is 70%. And then actually looking at the notes is like 30%. But when it comes to like maybe um high jump maps or like stream maps,
High as in
uh
like high star rating.
high star rating and like full jump, like full screen jump maps kind
Okay.
of thing, I would say then it becomes more like looking at the notes and like kind of using the internal metronome as like looking and reading is probably like 60-70%, and then listening to the notes internally having a metronome is like 30-40.
Okay, so it sounds like it also kind of depends on the map in the sense that like the more rhythmically complex maps, obviously you want to focus a bit more on the music as opposed to the
Yeah.
actual circles. But then once the difficulty starts really coming from the spacing and the note placement rather than anything related to the song per se, then that's where looking at the notes can help a bit more than the music itself.
Kind of like uh do you know the new ranked map that came out that was called like System by
KTG sir?
yeah, KTG Ster?
Oh, it's ranked?
Or maybe it's ranked or it's loved.
I think it's loved.
Yeah, that map, that the new one that came out, that's more like I would say it's an example like 70% listening, 30% looking.
Okay, I see. So even like in both cases, it's there's always a bit of both.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Okay, that does make sense. So,
for
so
me, not for everyone.
right, okay, that does make sense. Yeah, and I think because I know there's definitely different schools of thought when it comes to like some people say like just only look at the circles and the music is just like a metronome. Well, I don't think people are that extreme, but maybe there's some people that are out there that say that. But yes, a couple other things. So one thing actually that I'm curious about, because I actually don't know the story of this, is when you switched to tablet. What was that experience like for you? How long were you playing on mouse? And then
Oh,
at what point did you get a tablet and start learning that?
so this is actually really funny. So I was playing on mouse for fun up until so 2013, 2014, I played on a trackpad.
Oh, how did that happen?
I actually played League of Legends on a trackpad and I hit
Oh,
Diamond 1.
holy crap. Okay.
Yeah, Diamond 1 at the time is Grandmaster now.
Okay,
So
wow.
I was a top 1000 player on League of Legends on a trackpad.
Okay, wow.
And then I got a PC setup. This was actually through what is it called? Skill Capped. You know Skill Capped?
Oh yeah, do they sponsor you or what?
Yeah, I was a coach for them. And then they were like, yeah, if you need a new computer, like we'll send one out for you and we'll like pay for half of it. I
Oh,
was like,
that's
sure.
super nice. Wow.
So yeah, that's how I got a computer and I started playing on mouse and keyboard. So from 2015 onwards, I played on mouse for Osu, sporadically here and there. And then around, I would say 2020, is that when COVID happened?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, we're
Yeah,
starting to forget. Yeah, it was March 2020 in the United States is when it really started to
I
happen.
would say 2019, late 2019, 2020 is when I played on a tablet because my girlfriend gave me a tablet to use.
Okay.
And I played on relative because I didn't know how to set up a tablet. So I didn't have any tablet drivers.
Oh, it was relative positioning.
Yeah, it was relative positioning.
I
So I would
said,
have to like pick up my tablet and all that.
oh, as if you're playing a mouse basically with a
Yeah,
really
so
small
like
mouse pad.
I had tablet drift.
Oh God.
So that's what I played on. And then that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to people to see if I can play Osu. And that's when I got a new tablet and I talked to a fancy lad. Um, and Kali recommended like me buying this tablet, which was a CTL 472.
Yep.
I got that, set up all my drivers, and then right when I got that tablet and started taking the game seriously, I passed the big black immediately after playing, like struggling with low 6 stars. I just passed the big black after doing that.
Oh, after setting up your drivers and everything.
Yep, setting up drivers and getting a new tablet.
Oh my God. So that was your stress test, so to speak, with your new settings.
Yep. And oh, also another huge thing that helped out was grip tape. I used tennis grip tape on my pen.
Oh, yeah. That's something that's actually a little not polarizing in the sense that like some people think it's not good, but like some people find that it's not for them and some people like sort of swear by it. So I'm curious if you can give your perspective on that.
Yeah, so back when I played, my hands would get really sweaty.
You
So
talk as if you quit the game.
okay, so back when I played without the grip tape, uh, like what I would do was like wash my hands if it got too sweaty. So I constantly would have to keep washing my hands. So it would just slip as I played. So that's when I decided like, okay, what do I do about this? And I ended up getting grip tape for when I got the new tablet as well, and that fixed almost every issue with like holding the pen and all that. So if you get like very oily hands and you have a hard time gripping the pen, I would recommend just testing it out because it's not expensive at all. It's like maybe $5 for grip tape.
Yeah, yeah, for like a lot of grip tape too. Like
It's a lot of grip tape.
yeah.
So if you have oily hands and you have trouble like holding your pen, try it out. If you don't feel like you have any issues with holding your pen and like cursor control, feel free to just keep playing the way you do.
So you mentioned that your girlfriend got you a tablet in 2019-ish. Was that for drawing or for OSU or like, what exactly was that for?
Yeah, she's an artist. So she
Oh,
had an
okay.
extra tablet that like she had lying around. So I just used that.
Ah, okay, okay. Interesting. So I assume like by that point you had sort of heard about like people using tablets to play the game.
She played on a tablet. So I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh, maybe I'll try it out.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if she actually knew that people use tablet or if she just used it because of being an artist.
I think she like got into Osu after we met. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I think she probably saw some videos. She's like, oh yeah, people play tablets, so I'll try it too.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. So one thing you mentioned earlier is that as you're sort of increasing in speed even like as you grow older. I feel like the topic of age is something that a lot of people bring up with like improvement and like children have it easier. Is that something you agree with first of all? But also, is there anything you'd like to sort of debunk when it comes to age and improvement, especially in a game like Ozu?
Yeah, this is a very esports heavily like argued topic. Um, Kids have it easier in the sense of like they can soak things and become adjusted to specific patterns or like ways of playing a lot faster. And as you get older, you know, your reaction time gets slower. But I would say like, you know, like Faker is like 26, 27, and he's still improving as a player. Like this guy is competing with like 18-year-olds and he's still really good. So in the sense of like, do I think that you can't play the game when you're 25? Like No. I'm 25 and I'm still playing the game. I'm still faster than like most people in this game, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, but like it's obviously dependent on the person. Maybe some people at 25 uh just get slower. Maybe some people at 18 just get slower. It's just it's dependent on the person. And I don't think people in esports generally should just dismiss someone because of their age, because just because their reaction speed gets slower doesn't mean like other aspects that are very important, like let's say decision making in a game or like knowledge in a game, doesn't mean that gets any slower, right? If anything, they have more knowledge and more wisdom than more inexperienced people. So
You make it sound like, some people get slower at different ages. It's as if like everyone has a genetic age at which they're hardwired to start getting slower.
yeah, I haven't looked into it, but like it's also dependent on like people have jobs when they're generally like 18 plus, 19 plus. So like the less time you spend on doing a game, I stream full time, so I have more opportunity to play video games, right?
Right,
But
right.
um so it also depends on like what you do for a living or like what you're doing in life at the time. So like a middle schooler obviously will have more time than a college kid, generally speaking.
So, do you feel like it's mostly a time thing that like as people grow older, they have less time, they put in less practice, and then they gradually start to either slow down because they're not maintaining, or they just can't
Yeah,
improve as fast as people that have that much time?
I think that's a huge factor. I wouldn't say it's like the main cause, like the only cause, but I think that is a huge determining factor with like if you don't put the time in, how are you going to become faster, right? You're only going to become like the people that are older are like less flexible, right? And when you're younger, you're a little bit more flimsy.
Let me see.
It's like yeah, so like you're less prone to like breaking a bone rather than a 60-year-old.
Okay, yeah, I see.
So you become a little like more like your body becomes hardened. So I guess that's why um you don't feel as limber or as fast. But if you're maintaining it, like bro, there's people that are fast when they're like 35, 40, like in sports too, you know?
Yeah, that's true. So I'm curious, and especially on the topic of like really being able to improve as much as possible. On your OSU profile, in your user page, the only thing that's there is it says profile picture at top 100. Can you sort of give the story on why you don't have a profile picture and I guess any context around that?
Yeah, so I started taking the game seriously at 2021, February of 2021. And before then, I didn't feel like I needed to put a profile picture because I would just play with the game for fun. And then once I started taking it seriously, I never really looked at my profile. So like for the first like 6 months, I don't think I ever looked at my profile.
Oh, wow.
And then from that point on, I was like, oh cool, I'm this rank and stuff like that. And I never really like cared to make a profile picture. And then people started asking like, bro, when are you gonna put a profile picture on? And I was like, I'll do it when I'm top 100. And then I just put it in my profile.
So you just kind of did it as a cop out, not really cop out, but like just as an answer to the people that would ask.
Hmm.
Thing. I feel like it's man, I've always wanted to see someone like just have default profile stats and just get insanely good without doing anything. So I feel like
This
it's
is probably the closest, right? Like, I mean, I guess I did edit my bio, but like everything else is just default, right? I think
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
zero forum posts, zero comments.
oh yeah, 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 zero everything. You don't have any like anything like that. That's crazy. No name changes or anything
Nope.
like that. So yeah, let's go. And I mean, you could technically you could remove the me section on your profile as well.
Oh, I guess I mean technically it would, yeah.
Yeah, technically you can. So, after you get top 100, you just remove that and pretend it wasn't even there.
True. So when you put on a profile picture, you can't take it off?
Let me check. I'm pretty sure you can. No, well, there's no button for it. I can screenshot what it looks like just to show you, but yeah, it's There's no, because in some apps, like I think Twitter, for example, you can like click the remove avatar or like remove banner, but on OSU, I'm pretty sure you can't. Technically, you could. Uh, I think there's some ways to remove the avatar. Um, Someone said save someone else's default picture, but the thing is, on
That's like
the
uploading a picture, right? It's
yeah,
like
technically it
considered.
is because in game you would end up having that picture instead of having it be completely blank. So
Yo, that's sick.
yeah, I think there's some ways to do it, but it's very back like backdoory to like kind of set it up. I know there's some people that have done it. I don't know of anyone who's done that recently, but yeah, I think not setting an avatar is something that is quite rare, I guess.
Oh my god, rare account. Selling rare account. No, I'm just kidding. Delete that, delete that.
All right. Well, I think through all the topics that we talked about so far today and all the different advice that you've gained, what would you say are the most important things, or even if there's one most important thing that you would say there is for improving at this game?
Oh, most important thing, I've seen myself like struggle with this. When I play for PP or like play for like farm maps, I get so upset that I cannot play some maps that I believe that I can play. Right? Just like because I can't FC or I'm just getting more frustrated and I can't aim that day. Have fun. Just enjoy the game. Literally, what what is the saying for Osu?
Please
Like
enjoy game.
have yeah, please enjoy game. Literally, just do that. Just enjoy your time. I every day I play Osu, I hear so many people that are like, I hate this game. It's like th- then don't play it. I don't know. Like I enjoy every single day that I play. Except when I PP farm, so I don't try to PP farm too much.
I feel like that's actually an interesting point because I feel like there's actually some people that kind of focus on the rankings and the ladder so much that it's sort of the only way they know how to play the game. I'm curious if there's any, because I feel like it makes sense coming from other games that are sort of so like, sometimes there's a level requirement in other games, but like once you reach a certain point, you can start playing ranked, and pretty much everything revolves around playing for rank. And
True,
so
yeah.
I'm curious if you can shed some insight or like what you feel like the difference is between OSU's ranking system and other games.
Um, the interesting thing about Osu ranking system is that like when you play ranked, you're playing at the skill level in for different games. So like you play in diamond, you queue for diamond, you will play against diamond players. When you play Osu, you can play loved maps, you can play like graveyard maps, you can play so many different kinds of maps that it's like no matter your skill level, there will be a map for you.
Well, I
So
actually never thought of it that way. It's like in other games, you want to increase your rank because that's how you push yourself and start playing against harder
yeah,
opponents. But in OSU, like you could log off, you could not even have an account and you
yep,
can push yourself as much as you want.
yeah, because there's just maps for everything.
Dang. And at the same time, it's like if you want to technically, I don't know, practice in bronze, like for whatever reason, or like play, I guess, play in bronze, or for whatever reason that might be, then you'd have to like find another account or like borrow someone's account or something like that. But in OC, you just kind of go to the bottom of the star rating and you just kind of, you can,
Exactly.
yeah. Dang. Okay. Well, that I actually okay that actually expanded my sort of perspective on the ranking system compared to other games. I never really
Yeah, you
thought
gotta
of it that
jump
way.
through. You gotta jump through a lot of hoops to be able to like Smurf or whatever.
Yeah, that too.
But it's a lot more accessible to just do whatever in Osu. You can add mods. You can not add mods. You can play 2-star maps. You can play 1-star maps with all 5 mods or like all 4 mods, whatever.
You could play with storyboard, things like that. You could just
Yep.
hop in multiplayer with random. You can actually that's another thing. You can hop in multi with like people that are like top 10 in the world and you're like very new to the game and you just kind of play alongside each other. I mean, chances are top 10 players aren't going to be in multi that often, just kind of hanging
Yeah.
out, but for the most part, you can find multi lobbies with like top 2000, 1000 players that are just kind of there, and I feel like that's something that is really unique to just Osu.
I think the way that Osu has been developed and like the community around it is so like it's so cool to see compared to like from what I came from, which is League of Legends, where everyone just like kind of at each other's throats online. But like when you like, I went to TwitchCon recently, but when you meet up with actual people, I also saw like I saw Zudi and Karyu there. Like it was a really fun time, and like everyone's just kind of at each other's throats online in League. Uh, but with Osu, like everyone's kind of just like there are people that are like you know toxic per se, but for the most part, everyone's like pretty supportive of each other.
I think the last thing I want to touch on is probably mindset. I feel like that's something that a lot of people say is arguably more important than the way that you practice, is sort of the way that you think about and you approach the game. I'm curious your perspective on mindset, and I guess also what defines a good versus a bad mindset.
I think that depends on your goal, right? You can be the most negative mindseted person, but like if you're the best, like why does it matter if that's your goal? Right? Like so let's say for example like your goal is to improve, you have a negative mindset, that negative mindset affects your gameplay, then what's you're like kind of stopping yourself from reaching your goal. So what do you have to do to circumvent that kind of issue? If you're MREC and your goal is to be the best and you have a negative mindset, it's like, well, who cares if you're already the best, right? Like
So,
if you're rank one.
how exactly does negative, like the way that you think, affect your gameplay? Because isn't it like you just kind of have the skill within you, and it's um, like regardless of how you think of yourself, like why does it matter if I think I'm going to improve or not, as long as I'm putting in the same type of practice? People say that like if you hop on and are like really frustrated with yourself, then you're not going to improve as much. But uh,
Mm,
from
gotcha.
from a different perspective, like w- what difference does it make as long as you're kind of practicing in the same way that someone with a very positive attitude would have? Like how exactly does mindset affect your performance with the game and also how much you improve?
Oh, like it's kind of hard to like say definitively because like it all depends on your goal. Like, because if the results show that you play well, no matter your mindset, like if you have a good mindset, bad mindset, if your improve or goal is to improve, then like, and let's say it just doesn't affect your gameplay for a person that has a negative mindset, then like, does it matter if the end result is what you wanted?
Okay, I see. So
It's like if your goal is to make money in life, right? Whether or not you cheated to get it or like you did honestly, if your goal was to make money, you did what you wanted to do.
okay, so it's a matter of like if if your goal is isn't like isn't to do things from like the I guess like from like the core of it basically, then it like you can still achieve your goal even with a negative mindset, but there are certain goals that sort of aren't achievable unless you sort
With
of
a negative, yeah.
okay, I see.
So
So
like if it
okay.
affects you, then you got to find some way to like change that, right? Because either you change your goal or you change your approach to the goal, right? Because like it can't coexist within each other because it's just a contradiction. But if the issue is like your mindset does not matter as how this player plays, for example, Emrek, let's say hypothetically he has a bad mindset and he's like the most negative person, but he's rank one, then why does it matter if that was his goal?
Okay, I see. So I feel like there's this sort of not really analogy, but one thing that you sort of reminded me of talking about, like sort of the way that you're thinking about your goal, is let's say you're playing basketball, and there's a difference between setting your goal to score a lot of points and setting your goal to improve at the game, because if your goal is to improve at the game, then there's a lot more like analysis of like what exactly you're doing wrong and like being able to push yourself as a player to make it out of tight situations. But
Hmm.
if your goal is just to score points, then you end up taking the shortcut route. You just sort of make very easy shots and just kind of don't quite push yourself in that same way. Although at the same time, improve because you would think improving as a player results in scoring more points. But I feel like what you're sort of saying is that same sort of like subtle difference in the way that you think about your goals.
Yeah, actually, I have a perfect explanation or like an example of this.
Oh, sure.
So like two things. Uh, the the initial thing that like most people can relate to is like your goal is to hit challenger, right? Like let's say you have two people. One person's goal is to hit challenger, and one person's goal is to improve so that they can hit challenger. The person that's looking to improve most likely will be improving in most aspects and then hitting challenger. The person that's just looking to hit challenger is going to do any means possible, cheating, target banning, like cheating for elo, whatever they need to do to get to that point and still not be as good of a player, right? Even if
Right.
both their goals are to become a challenger player or a top player. And so I remember talking to my dad's friend, which he's like this millionaire guy. And I was asking him, I was like, how do you make money? Like, how do I make money? And he was like, the way he made money was not by chasing money to get it. He said, you find something that you're good at and you become so good at it that the money has no other option than to follow you. So basically, you get good at something so much that there is no other option for anything else to happen besides like you become a top player because you are so good.
I see.
So the approach is different in terms of like I want to become rank one, more so like MREC improved so much at everything that there was no other option than to hit rank one.
Okay, that actually makes sense. I mean, there's a similar sort of saying, I guess, that exists in OSU as well, where it's like uh, playing for PP doesn't guarantee skill, but playing for skill does guarantee PP. Because once you reach a certain skill level, like you just touch a map and it becomes your top play, and it's like, what the heck? So
Exactly, yeah.
yeah,
So it
that
applies to a lot of things in life, I would say.
that's a really good way, I think, to tie things together. I'm curious if you have any sort of final thoughts or opinions or bits of advice or shout outs or anything that you'd like to share with the world.
I would like to say that if you are an aspiring OSU player, just enjoy your time and try to just take a step back and evaluate what you're playing for. Try not to focus too hard on the ranks because that'll mentally deteriorate a lot of people because people don't have the mental capacity to take that every day of like the negative mindset of I'm going to reach this rank and then you can't. It kind of eats at you. So especially for a younger audience, like Osu has a younger audience, enjoy the game and just try to improve if that is your goal. And so yeah, you can achieve your goals by working hard, but you shouldn't do it at the expense of your own mental health. All right. So don't take it too seriously, but don't take it too lax.
Yes, very well said. And thanks again to you, of course, Willie, for taking the time to to share your insights and opinions. One last question came in from live chat. Someone said, "Has being good looking helped you with confidence?"
Has being good helped you with
Has
confidence?
has being good looking helped you with confidence?
Oh, good looking. Uh, I don't think that I'm that good looking. So I would say most of my confidence came from like improving myself and not caring about what people think. Um, Obviously, to a certain degree, you have to care about what other people think because like that's how you survive in a society without being outcasted. But for the most part, like if it's not stepping on other people's toes for no good reason, right? Like I don't have a reason to do so and I'm just doing it to be an asshole. If it's not for that, then like I will do what I want to do. I don't really care.
Yes, very well said. So, yes, I want to thank you again for taking the time to share all your wisdom. I've dragged you up here for another interview, but I do always appreciate your insights and your perspectives.
Oh, I appreciate you. I enjoy having these like, interviews and talks and things like that. So, like I said before, anytime. Anytime for you, man.
Let's go. Thanks again, and thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. We will see you all next time.